All right, welcome back. This next section is about components that involve JavaScript. So you don't have to be super familiar with JavaScript. You don't even have to write JavaScript to get most of these to work. But you do need to have the Bootstrap JavaScript file included. And often we need to add some special attributes to our elements. So we're not just changing a class, we're also adding attributes that help things so that we can create a carousel, like an image gallery, a slider, or a drop-down menu. Or in this video, we're starting with the simplest one, which is the alert. So all of them involve JavaScript, but again, you don't have to be super familiar with JavaScript. So here's an alert. If you go to components, it's the very first component. And on its own, this involves no JavaScript, no fancy special attributes. We just give a class, alert, and then a color. And this makes like a pop-up, I guess, that gives information to your user. You know, a success alert, like congratulations, you created an account. Or warning, like you're running out of space or storage space on your account. Different things that you can tell a user. And then if we add in the fancy JavaScript behavior right here, we can make them dismissible so that a user can, dismiss it. It gets annoying if you have an alert that's always at the top of your page. You can recognize it and make it go away. But that involves JavaScript behind the scenes. It's dynamic. You're clicking on something and then there's a result on the page. With just HTML and CSS, that's not really possible. So let's begin with the basics. You make a div, give it the class alert, and then a color. And also, it's important for accessibility purposes to make it clear that this is an alert, because there's not really an appropriate element to use for an alert. There isn't an alert HTML5 tag. So a div on its own doesn't really call attention to it, doesn't make it clear that this is an important alert. So if you're reading a screen reader, if you're using a screen reader, it's easy to identify this as an alert, usually something important. Otherwise, it could just be some random div on the page. So I have a new file. It's empty except for a little heading. I'm going to come in here and make an alert. And I should give it a color. Let's do success. And we can just put text in there on its own, like, congrats, your changes were saved. And we get an alert. And we can do the same thing with danger and say, watch out, you're about to delete the universe. And there we go. Now within that, you can put links inside. So if you want a link, you can use the class alert link. So I'll just show one more. Maybe inside of our alert danger, you're about to delete the universe, read more here. And I'll do an anchor tag with the class alert link and then put here. And we get this link here. Okay. Other things you can do, you can put additional content in there, like an alert heading. So why don't I do that now? Instead of watch out there, I'm going to do an alert heading. So we can do an H4, it's up to us, but alert heading, and I'll say watch out here. Okay, so now we have this alert with a little more content rather than just plain text. Now for the main event, to make it dismissible. So to make it dismissible, there's a couple things we have to do. One, we have to actually make it functionally dismissible. But two, we need to add some extra accessibility content. And that's the case with a lot of these JavaScript components, where you make it interactive, but we also have to make it clear what it is to somebody who is not able to see the screen. So let's start with how we make it dismissible. I'm going to duplicate this one right here, and let's make it a different color, like alert warning. And I'll just separate it out by saying, I can never spell dismissible. I think that's right. So what we do is we make an alert, give it alert warning or alert anything, and then alert dash dismissible. Dismissible. Then we'll come back to fade and show. You don't have to have that. On all of these, I neglected to add my role equals alert, even though I mentioned that it was important for accessibility purposes. So I'll add that in. But that's not going to actually make anything work. It's just so that screen readers can identify what this content is. Now, this is the important part. We add a button, and we're going to give it a class set to close. And this is what it will look like at the end of the day. Where are you? Wait, where is it? And I had to refresh the page so we could see the alert because I had dismissed it, but this is what it will look like, this X symbol. The way we do that is by using this entity, HTML entity code, ampersand times semicolon. So I'll copy that. And we can just make a button right now. So we do a button, and then in here, we can just paste in our symbol, and on its own, it looks absolutely awful. So this is where we go with class equals close, and that styles it, but it still doesn't work. It's not doing anything different. So the next thing that we need to do is hook it up, connect it to our alert and make it actually dismiss. And that's what this right here does. Data-dismiss equals alert. So on the button, we say data-dismiss equals alert. And this is a little hook for Bootstrap's JavaScript that automatically makes it so that when you click this, it will dismiss the parent alert. And on its own, that should be enough. And there it goes. We're now getting rid of it. So we can add the class fade and show, two different classes, to make it fade out. You can see there, hopefully. Without it, whoops, there we go. Without it, it just disappears instantly. Now, as far as accessibility, what we want to do is make it clear what this button is doing. So we're going to give it an ARIA label that says this is a close button. And also, we can hide this span because for a screen reader, these entity codes are not very friendly. This only makes sense to the human eye when it's rendered out as an X. It makes no sense to most people as ampersand times semicolon. So we do aria-hidden true in a span around that entity code. So let's do this on a separate line. Span aria-hidden equals true, and then put that in there. And then we'll add our aria label and set that to close. Okay, and functionally nothing should have changed, but now we have a dismissible alert. So that's pretty much it for alerts. So we can make simple ones, we can put headings in there, put links in there, and then to make one dismissible, we add data-dismiss set to alert. And then we need to make sure that we have our accessibility content in there, role equals alert, aria label close. We hide this entity code on screen readers, and then we should be good to go.